Donald Trump says Mike Pence won Tuesday's vice presidential debate. He took credit for his running mate's performance, hailing his own judgment in choosing Pence. But some of Pence's responses to past comments made by Trump do not hold up.
Donald Trump and I would never support legislation that punished women who made the heartbreaking choice to end a pregnancy.
And what punishment for abortion, yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
And Donald Trump has said it, deportation force. They want to go house to house, school to school, business to business, and kick out 16 million people. And I cannot believe...
That's nonsense.
I cannot...
You're going to have a deportation force, and you're going to do it humanely.
More nations should get nuclear weapons.
Don't try to defend that.
Mouth.
Well, he never said that.
So you have no problem with Japan and South Korea having nuclear weapons?
At some point, we have to say, you know what? We're better off if Japan protects itself against this maniac in North Korea. We're better off, frankly, if South Korea is going to start to protect itself.
Saudi Arabia, nuclear weapons?
Saudi Arabia, absolutely.
Governor Pence is with us from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, all.
Some have said, as they looked at your performance, they have praised your performance in the debate. They've also said that the strategy was to deflect rather than defend your running mate.
Well, first, before I respond to that, let me thank you for all the attention that this program and the network is paying to the approaching hurricane. Our hearts go out to those families who lost loved ones in Haiti, and our hearts and our prayers go out to our neighbors in Florida. And we certainly encourage people to support the Red Cross and other efforts that are very likely going to have to step forward in the hours and the days ahead. But I will tell you, Charlie, I was very humbled, very honored to be on that stage to tell the story about Donald Trump's vision to make America great again. And it was my great privilege to go out. And to be honest with you, I know some people have said that I won the debate. I'll leave that to others. But I honestly believe that Donald Trump won the debate. It was Donald Trump's vision to make America great again. It was the Donald Trump's aspirations for this country, the policies he's been articulating that I carried forward.
Well, he said it was his. He said it was his good.
I also sought to draw a contrast in this debate, and as I said, it was a privilege for me to be there.
Well, Governor Pence, he's claiming credit. He says it was his good judgment in choosing you
as his first hire.
Yeah, as his first hire. You think that's an example of good judgment?
Well,
and are you giving him any pointers? People say you could give him pointers this Sunday night.
Well, I honestly, obviously, I'm very humbled by his esteem and by the kind words of others. But I think the reason why Donald Trump has built an extraordinary business, an extraordinary career, is because he has had the judgment to make it through tough times. You saw those tax releases that came out from 20 years ago. He faced enormous losses in his business. He led an incredible comeback. He did that by drawing around him women and men of extraordinary ability and enterprise. And I think it's exactly the kind of judgment and exactly the kind of people that he's going to bring around him if we have the privilege of serving in the next administration.
Governor, you said that in the debate you were speaking about Donald Trump's vision. However, you guys differ on a number of policy issues. So let me ask you specifically about those issues, specifically on the topic of immigration. Mr. Trump said that he has supported a deportation task force. Do you also support that?
Well, that came up in the debate. It was quite striking to me that all this talk about a deportation force. We have a deportation force in this country. It's called Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. And for the first time in the history of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, their union endorsed Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America, because they know he has a plan to end illegal immigration, beginning with border security, strengthening internal enforcement through immigrations and customs, identifying and removing from this country criminal aliens that are bringing violence and crime to our streets, removing people from this country that the law requires leave after they overstay their visa, and then saying, once we've done all of that, let's then reform our immigration system. And I'll tell you, there's no daylight between Donald Trump and I on that or any other issue. I truly do believe the American people long for us to end illegal immigration. We've talked about it for decades. Let's do it, and let's do it in the order that Donald Trump described.
Governor, let me ask you about Aleppo. aid groups say their situation there is dire. There are 100,000 children trapped inside Aleppo without food, water, or aid. Would you support using U.S. warplanes to enforce a zone, a no-fly zone, so that aid trucks could get in?
Well, Donald Trump and I have consistently called for the establishment of safe zones under the umbrella of international approval, and we have to act. I mean, the fact that you had the Assad regime with the Russians in the wake of the failure of the Russian reset by Hillary Clinton, they're literally on the edge of Aleppo, and you point straight to those families, straight to 100,000 children. We have to act. We have to act now to establish and protect those safe zones. And when I was talking the other night in the debate, I said, look, we absolutely should be prepared to use military force to establish and preserve the safe zones and the ability for people to safely evacuate out of those areas. We cannot stand idly by while this humanitarian crisis unfolds before the eyes of the world.
Your running mate, the man at the top of the ticket, has said this, quote, "I would have stayed out of Syria." You guys have a different position on this issue.
Well, I think Donald Trump's been very, very clear about his view of the Syrian situation. That what we have is an administration that first said we were going to have a reset with Russia. That's been a total failure under Hillary Clinton's leadership as Secretary of State. President Obama said he would draw a red line, that if Syria ever used chemical weapons against its citizens, that there would be consequences. The Assad regime did, and there were none.
So just to be absolutely clear, Governor Pence, just to be absolutely clear, because I do think this is an issue about U.S. military force. I just want to be, forgive me, I just want to be absolutely clear. You and Donald Trump agree that you would use U.S. military force, you have said, to bomb Assad forces and to enforce a no-fly zone. There is absolute agreement between the two of you.
Well, where there's absolute agreement is we have to establish safe zones for people to be able to get out of harm's way in Aleppo. And if you don't back that up with military resources and our allies in the region, then you can't really guarantee that people in those 100,000 children are going to be able to get out of harm's way. Look, Syria has imploded into a civil war. ISIS is headquartered in Syria. It's all emblematic of the weak and feckless leadership of this administration.
Governor, let me just interrupt for one question to make one distinction.
And that's why we need change.
Governor, let me make one distinction so we understand you exactly. Whether you should have been in Syria or not, this is a humanitarian crisis. A no-fly zone is one thing, and a safe zone is something else. Which are you suggesting? That you do not favor a no-fly zone, but you favor a safe zone?
Well, Charlie, I think they're absolutely two different things. Donald Trump has been very consistent in saying that we should establish a safe zone in the region, working with our allies in the region, so that people have a way to get out of Aleppo and out of harm's way in Syria. And whether that's you establish a no-fly zone or whether you go beyond that with military force, I think that would have to be a real-time decision by our commander-in-chief. But we cannot stand idly by the way America has, moving red lines, feigning resets with Russia, wringing our hands, saying, as the Secretary of State recently said, that we're just out of talks with Russia. All the while, here we have the leader of Russia, flexing his muscles, expanding his influence in the region. The United States of America needs to be there for those suffering families in Aleppo. And at the same time, we need to continue to focus our resources, as Donald Trump has, on destroying ISIS at its source. It's headquartered in Syria. It's headquartered in Raqqa. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to put the safety and security of the American people first, but we're also going to be there to provide humanitarian relief and support for people that are coming under the brutal results of this kind of action.
All right, Governor Pence, we thank you. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time.